Premier Kathleen Wynne was at the Alberta Legislature to announce a collaboration with the NDP on green energy recently. And when Wynne came to visit, Wildrose MLA Derek Fildebrandt made it perfectly crystal clear to Rachel Notley and the rest of the NDP that following in the footsteps of the Ontario Liberals is just a really bad idea, especially since the province is almost $300 billion in debt and their own green energy plan isn't efficient. It's breaking the bank for many Ontarians. Fildebrandt was asking questions that every Albertan wants to hear the answers to, but Premier Wynne was in the legislature at the time, and of course the mainstream media and the left went absolutely berserk over it. First, half of the Wildrose caucus didn't stand up to greet the visiting official, and then there was the commentary from Fildebrandt that got them in a bit of a twist. I'll let you have a watch right here.
Alberta welcomed Ontario's Liberal Premier Kathleen Wynne to the Legislative Assembly. While I'm sure their talk session was valuable, we aren't sure what benefit Albertans can get from Ontario's emissions plan. For power consumers, it's meant skyrocketing power bills, massive subsidies to unprofitable initiatives, and Auditor General's reports into billions of wasted tax dollars. A few months ago, our Premier praised the Ontario plan. Is the Premier still endorsing this plan? And if so, what part does she think will benefit Albertans? Currently, Ontario has the largest subnational sovereign debt on the planet. They're now even receiving equalization payments. It's an example of what happens when a government fails to get its spending under control. It means higher taxes, but it also means less services for those in need. This week, the NDP is scrapping our already high legislative debt ceiling, and Alberta has suffered 4 credit downgrades in just 5 months. Will the Premier stop following the example set by the Ontario Liberals, put a cap on borrowing, and get control of our out-of-control spending?
The media used words like ridiculed and fury to describe what Fildebrandt said to Rachel Notley, and despite it all, Fildebrandt doubled down. He insisted that he was doing his job as an opposition critic. But then the Wildrose Party issued an apology for the behavior, citing not knowing that the Premier of Ontario would be in the legislature that day. And in doing so, they threw Derek Fildebrandt under the bus. But that's not where all of this ends. Fildebrandt has made some enemies, and it's because he often speaks the truth, and of course he's the Wildrose powerhouse. And it gets people on the other side of the political spectrum raging mad. In other words, he's very effective at what he does. You know how the old saying goes, speaking the truth gets you hated. Now, Mr. Fildebrandt's Facebook page that he runs on his own was mined, and what was deemed to be a homophobic slur was found. Here's the comment, and I'll read it to you, starting at the point of controversy. Also, the truth about Mr. Wynne, or whatever the hell she identifies as, needed to be put out there for everyone to see. The poster then goes on to say, "Proud to have you as my MLA," to which Derek responds, "Proud to have constituents like you." And of course that was seen as bigoted, and Derek, apparently not realizing his mistake at first due to misreading the comment, corrected it and apologized. Look, Fildebrandt is actually a supporter of the LGBTQ community. Here he is at the Strathmore Gay Rodeo with fellow MLAs Deborah Drever and Michael Connolly. But now the Wildrose Party has suspended him from caucus on that basis in a media release issued late Friday night. And several from the LGBTQ community have come out in support for the MLA representing the riding of Strathmore Brooks. So the real issue here isn't whether Fildebrandt is a homophobe. It's actually most likely backlash for the performance in the legislature, with Wynne in attendance. The Wildrose issued an apology and suspended Fildebrandt for the sake of political correctness only. And supporters aren't on board with the decision. Member Craig MacDonald expressed that he would be suspending his regular financial contributions to the party and is seriously considering canceling his membership over the whole ordeal. I can see not standing to welcome a visitor in the legislature being perceived as being rude, but when it comes to asking the tough questions on policy, this is what the people of Strathmore Brooks hired Derek Fildebrandt to do. The MLA also released a statement himself, saying that he was genuinely surprised but accepted the decision of his party. But are the Wildrose appeasing to the left side of the political spectrum with this judgment? The thing is that the caucus knew about the questions about Wynne's policies because they were pre-planned and they were pre-approved. We all know what happened to the progressive conservatives when they started to give up ground to the left. They were completely decimated in the last provincial election. And for a party that's aiming for a win, the Wildrose simply won't be able to make it happen by giving in to opponents, embarrassing their MLAs, and upsetting their member base. The Wildrose Party rose from the dead under Brian Jean's leadership, but I don't agree with this decision at all. And at The Rebel, we can't just sit back and watch as political correctness takes over the Wildrose Party. And that's why we're setting up a petition at savederek.ca. Send a message to the Wildrose Party that you want to see Derek back on the front lines doing what he does best. And that's holding Rachel Notley and the NDP's feet to the fire. That's savederek.ca. I signed, and I know you're going to want to sign too. For therebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of The Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.